going to have our second speaker, Hudson. So I've had the pleasure of not only teaching Hudson science, but also coaching him in robotics and watching him play many basketball games. And from all those interactions, I have learned that Hudson loves to have fun and laugh with his friends. It's probably number one of all the things he loves to do. He's wicked smart, especially in science and computer programming. And he works really hard on the basketball court. My two favorite memories of Hudson are one, when he was playing a game against Highlands Latin and made a three-pointer and shocked himself and couldn't stop smiling the entire game. I was really happy to be able to witness that. And the second one is when he ran over to my desk when he found out he got into his boarding school, his early decision boarding school, and then our whole advisory platform. I was excited for him. Hudson is a great kid. He has a unique perspective on the world and has written a fantastic speech. Without further ado, Hudson Swaminathan.
There's a famous proverb that says, if you see a turtle on a fence post, know that he did not get there on his own. My middle school career has been about my journey as this turtle on a fence post, trying to be in places that I may not naturally belong. But I've always had many helping hands to get me where I wanted to be. Throughout my middle school career, my struggle has been to find a place in people's minds and hearts, and then the people that have found a place have made a similar impact on me. Physical. My physical attributes and qualities have not always been in my favor, but they didn't need to be. I tried many new things throughout my middle school years, but one of the main highlights of these have been sports. Not because I was good at them, but because of the person I found myself on a team. Sports have always been a struggle for me, and it was never fun like it seemed to be for other kids. Each practice was a physical battle, and where other guys seemed to connect through the sport, I didn't. At one point, I asked myself why I wanted to be around these people. The answer I eventually found was that they inspired me. They inspired me to try harder and be greater. This drove my determination and will to keep playing. Since then, I've worked on myself, and while people still might say I don't have the body for sports, I have the mindset. I remember at the end of 6th grade basketball, even though I had not scored a single basket, my teammates had me lift the trophy. This is just an instance of people around me lifting that turtle to the fence post, even though it might not belong there. Since then, I've come to enjoy sports, playing them often, and I found my place on the lacrosse field. My 7th and 8th grade years were dedicated to improving at lacrosse, including doing off-seasons at King Louis with Coach Keys and his father, throwing a lacrosse ball against a rebounder for hours a day, and the people around me continuing to push me to be better. Looking to the future, sports will continue to be something I pursue, no matter where I end up, because being part of a team is a valuable lesson I've learned through sports and want to continue to learn. Academic. There have been many moments that teachers have opened the door of curiosity and sparked my interest to learn. Whether it's Mr. Beasley showing how the social hierarchies in the book Of Mice and Men exist in our lives, and having the ability to teach and roast at the same time, or Mr. Haas giving a whole new take on our constitutional rights as an American citizen that we take for granted every day. I remember at the beginning of this year, I asked Mr. Beasley for a recommendation to high school. He told me that he could write me one, but I wouldn't get in. He told me that he wasn't going to lie for me, and if I wanted a good one, I would have to earn it. At that moment, I started to panic, because it was required that I get his recommendation. He then told me that I was a brilliant student, but also extremely, extremely annoying. Although I thought one extremely would have been sufficient, the only thing I heard was that Mr. Beasley thinks I'm brilliant. It was the best day of my life. History class is another class that has been really eye-opening for me this year. I've always enjoyed my history classes at Collegiate, but Mr. Haas doesn't just teach dates and events. He taught us how to reason and support arguments. He taught us the difference between a persuasive argument and an argument that is not well reasoned. And his sense of humor never fails to entertain, even when I'm the target of it. My academic resources make it hard to tell whether I enjoy learning or have an exceptional teacher to make it seem that way. I've had to learn some difficult lessons in self-advocating and time management, and thanks to Mr. Franco, I've been able to overcome the stereotype that all Asians are good at math. But I've also learned to enjoy the classroom and the challenges that come with it. Social. I've always been a very extroverted person, and I like to be around people. And I began middle school the same way I started every year. I looked around the people at my advisory, my classes, activities, and teams, and tried to figure out how I could connect with them. By 8th grade, I connected with many different kinds of people, some of which I had never imagined being friends with at the beginning. My friends have many different qualities, including being funny, charismatic, and kind. And whether it's door dashing a $30 Big Mac during lacrosse study halls, getting a basketball stuck in the bathroom ceiling, or having the most violent game of pick-up soccer ever. I've enjoyed it all. It's these people who make school a fun place to be. It's these people who gave me a nickname that I'm proud to be called by, and I'm thankful for all of it. One thing I learned is that every person I've been friends with has a shared sense of humor with me. I realized looking back at it that wasn't just jokes or entertainment, but something more meaningful. To me, connecting with humor means that someone else sees the world the same way as I do. And for that moment in time, I know I'm not alone. So I'm grateful for every friend and I've had and had at my time at Collegiate. And whether we're friends today or not, I'm grateful to have had that friendship because I've bettered me in some way. Self. Until this year, I've never really reflected much on anything I ever did. And my mind was always on the future. So when I sat down to write essays for boarding school applications, my mind was drawing a blank. I was forced to reflect on my middle school years, what I did, and why I did it. I had to sell myself on my best qualities and reflect on my worst. And from that, I learned several things about myself. 1, I'm the kind of person who has to make his own mistakes. Murphy's Law says, tell a man there are 300 billion stars in the universe and he'll believe you. Tell him a bench has wet paint on it and I'll have to touch it to be sure. That's me, with paint all over my hands. But this has also been a good thing because I will learn to try everything. One of these things I tried during middle school was drumming. It was something I came to and pursued on my own. And when I discovered the school's rock band, something just clicked, and I've been all on the drums ever since. 2, I learned that I'm stubborn. And although it can be a good thing to be rock solid in my beliefs, it can be extremely annoying when that belief is playing basketball when everyone else is supposed to be playing volleyball. But I realized that this stubbornness turns into persistence when paired with a meaningful goal. And if that goal is to surround myself with people that I look up to, I become this turtle elevated by those around me. The last thing I've learned about myself in this process is that I am to the core an optimist. Not in the sense that I say positive affirmations to myself all day, but the kind of optimism that comes from a deeply seated belief in the goodness of people. This optimism gives me strength, and the strength to put myself out there and grasp whatever opportunities come my way. The strength to handle a rejection, or take a verbal hit, and bounce back ready for the next opportunity. This optimism has allowed me to receive many acts of random kindness, an act of kindness such as lifting a turtle out from the dangers of the ground and placing it on a fence post. Dedications. First, I want to dedicate this speech to Miss Khan. Miss Khan is a science teacher, but she is the kind of teacher that will always be able to make others see things from a perspective far beyond the classroom. Whether it is to imagine a universe as a place of infinitely large possibilities, or to see a microscopic world as one of infinitely small possibilities, or to see an unruly 8th grader as more than just a disciplinary problem. As her student, I want to make her proud, and she makes me strive to become, in her words, the best version of myself. My second dedication goes out to Auntie Lizelle. Even though we aren't related by blood, your house has always felt like a second home, and you've always felt like a second mom. For as long as I can remember, you have been there for every major event of my life, and I have so many happy memories of holidays, Super Bowl, and derby parties at your house. You are somehow even able to get me out of trouble when I'm deep with my parents, and I appreciate your presence in my life. Finally, I would like to dedicate this speech to my family. To my little brothers, although you have a tendency to barge into my room without knocking, touch everything in my room and leave without shutting the door behind you, you both do a pretty good job of putting up with me, as I do you. To Elliot, it seems as though you get funnier and less annoying with age, to the point I almost enjoy your company. You have been a great brother and a great first roommate, and I know I'll miss you next year. And finally, to my mom and dad. I had this belief growing up that you were somehow required to love me, like you had some kind of legal obligation to love me the way that you do. But I've come to the realization that your love for me is a choice, and not an easy choice at times. But I see your love for me and your problem solving and your willingness to put all the options on the table if it might help me. Whether it's a solution to my Tourette syndrome, or finding a piano teacher that's compatible with my learning style, or to find the perfectly thoughtful birthday gift, I see and appreciate all that you have done for me. Conclusion. I started this journey at Collegiate 10 years ago at the JK House, and Collegiate has been this world that I lived in up till now. And as I look forward, preparing to put this world behind me, I feel tremendous sadness, and my instinct is to grab hold of the familiar and not let go. But it's also be thrilling to have to be that turtle having its whole worldview rearranged. A turtle on a fence post may not be natural or regular, but the world is full of quirks, so people don't take a second glance. But sometimes people wonder what happened when you reach that fence post. The gratification of doing so is you get to look at what you just climbed, and do a final assessment and thought before you move on to something higher. This is my final assessment, and although before I move on to my higher structure, and whatever it may be, I'm sure I'll be in this position again, thinking of all I've accomplished and assessing myself. So I'll remember this and cherish it, because who knows what that higher structure has in store for me. Thank you for listening.